States, to be precise. Our boys, our Seagulls, just lost. This just happened. 2-1. Honestly, it's like a nightmare to Panama. We just lost to a Van Halen song in a game that was kung fu fighting. A devastating night for all who care about this team, this game, this American future. It's been a tough day. No Euros for the first time in 13 days. I don't know what excuse you all use to not work at work. Euro round of 16 is set. We were going to talk a little bit about England, but I don't think you want to talk about England right now. God, I'd bite your arm off to be England. They're terrible, but they're top of the bloody group. They're hardly conceding. I'd bite your arm off to be as crap as England right now, but we're going to break it all down with a great friend of the pod. A gent who, as a kid, was one of the greatest strikers in America in his imagination. Dude literally painted a target on the top of his head to become a better target man. I love America. His ability to dunk a basketball made soccer's loss the NBA gain. I wish we'd never lost him. We needed him tonight, but as much as he adores hoops, a huge part of his being, his identity, his soul, is in love with football. In general, and Leeds United in particular, where he's become a co-owner. Proudly, the only gent in the NBA who spends hours playing Football Manager. From Akron, Ohio. And the New Orleans Pelicans. It is a joy on this dark night to welcome back Brendan Aronson's dad. It's Mr. Larry Nance Jr.
I have never had a better introduction. It's just hat off to you.
Larry, on this dark night, you are a ray of light and hope, and we will get you out of here, I hope, by the time the first debate tonight, in which Joe Biden, I think, is going to debate Alexi Lalas now live on stage. But Larry, first up, we've got to address the elephant in the room and say just how sorry I am that your Leeds, and I know you went to Wembley for the playoff final, lost to Southampton in the playoff final, cool game, are Leeds English United States men's national team?
I feel like at one point they absolutely were. We had everybody there. Tyler, Weston, Brendan. We had everybody there. But Brendan's back, and we still love our Americans.
I meant more in how you lose the big games when everybody thinks you're going to win. I mean,
well, that's the most American thing you could do, right? That's the most American thing you do. At least no red cards in the big game. That's a positive.
No red cards, and we will break it down. I'll just say for Leeds fans, Brendan Aronson redemption season loading. Let me remind you on this night of nights, we are here to mourn together, to analyse together, and to try and articulate what did we just watch? What did we just experience? How did we do this? This was meant to be like 4th of July come early tonight. This was funereal. And this is a Do It Live presented by the GFOPs at BMW, which means, dear GFOPs, you can come on this show, ask questions about what you saw tonight, what you're feeling. Just scan that QR code in the top left of your screen. It'll take you into a Zoom with our producer, Tony. He'll get you right up to ask your question. We were going to talk about England, but I'm going to can that. Come on up. We'll get you up early. Tell us where you are, what you're feeling, what you think, what happens now in the Arrowhead against Uruguay. Gulp. I'm in danger. Bloody hell. Smash the conversation. Smash the likes. Let's mourn together. Let's pray together. Let's dream together, but dream realistic dreams. But come on up. Get in line now. Come be with us on this night. Larry and I need a bloody hug from you all. Come and be with us. And I want to start by raising my old third first Michelob Ultra of the day to you, American fans. I know we dream. I know we yearn. I know we aspire. And tonight was one of those nights where we learned that dreams and shattered dreams are so inextricably connected. Let's get into this stuff. But by the way, our US men's national team, we're going to be in Kansas City Sunday night, live at the Madrid Theatre. Brendan Hunt. Oh, God, it's going to be dark. Come be with us, Madrid Theatre. I think there's like 3 tickets left. Charlotte, July 9th, we're coming with you. We hoped the US would be in a semi-final that day, but Dean Smith, Carolina Panthers, Derek Brown, Sam Lewis will all be with me. Come here. Come and give us a cuddle in person. But to the darkness, USA 1, Panama 2. I don't know. I just don't know how we got here. We felt so good after that first game, that truly one-dimensional Bolivia. We stepped up. We knew this was going to be quality. Step up. Familiarity. Step up. A little bit. It's like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You beat one boxer, a slightly better one. They're not great. Panama entered the Copa Thunderdome fresh off their own 3-1 loss to Uruguay last Sunday. They've beaten us twice, I think in 27 games, 26 games. Panama, we knew they were going to be a robust challenge. We knew they were going to be physical. We knew that's how they were going to play. And the mission was to gain victory, to gain that place in the knockout round. And the question was up top, do we rotate? Do we put fresh legs in? Greg says no. Same team that beat Bolivia, you go again. Panama knew they'd be eliminated with defeat, so we knew they were going to fly out the gates. Tyler Adams, my friend, the preemptive note, the early foul. We are not afraid of you, he roared. But Panama sent a very different signal right back to us. It was Barcenas tried the bicycle kick in the first minute, which whistled over the bar. This was them saying, we're not afraid of you. We are going to come and play football against you. This opening, Larry, it was as surprising as the Lakers drafting Bronny James.
That was less surprising to anybody paying attention. Man, you were right. You said it best. They came right out and just planted their flag. We are not scared of you. And that's how you got to do it.
It's how you got to do it. They laid one on us. This game was fizzing. 5 minutes in, Christian Pulisic ripped in a free kick. USA have been so ineffective at free kicks in the Berhalter era, but the story of this Copa, the hiring of a new set-piece coach, Gianni Vio, a man whose name you can't say without going like this, Gianni Vio, ball locked onto the head of Chris Richards, someone off the keeper in the post, came out, we thought, to Weston McKennie, who smacked it home. I don't know what the scenes were like in your house, Larry. There may or may not have been beers thrown up in the air at the Bennett residence.
Well, it's funny. My entire family's upstairs, and out of the whole clan of Nances, I am the one soccer fan. I apologize. So it was a dead house except for me. I stood up and paraded around the house like a donkey, only for it to be taken back.
The last starfighter Nance, the only lonely Nance football fan, the man of the future. The goal varred off because of an offside Tim Ream who poked the ball back to West, and only VAR can stop the Wes. Blackman, then, this was an astonishing moment, which I will watch a lot tonight. Hip checked a truly exposed Matt Turner. I mean, a goalkeeper is hopelessly vulnerable in that moment. He was wiped out. It was a terrible hit. Knew exactly what he was doing. Somehow no yellow card, but it really set a tone, Larry, in that moment that this is a war. I mean, in that moment, you saw the US players looking at each other like, oh my God, this is prison rules.
Oh, absolutely. That was all. Once that happened, full-blown CONCACAF was in effect. We were ready to go. Prison rules apply, no blood, no foul. And I was hoping, a hard foul needed to be had after that, but a little bit smarter, just a little bit smarter.
Is that what happens in the NBA? Like, okay, hard foul time, but you all know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. You take my keeper out. You knock down my point guard. You knock down one of us, and
you put one of ours in the hospital, we put one of yours in the morgue. You take out our keeper, I give you a tiny little slap to the back of the head and no one's watching. That's not what Sean Connery said. That's not how it works, Tim. I mean, it was a war, and it was a war that Tim Weah took a little bit too seriously, because in the BMW moment of the match, off the ball, decided he would essentially, I don't know what you even call it, slap Roderick Miller in the back of the head. It was an astonishing moment. I know that you and we'll have an analysis about it as a professional athlete. I mean, this is a team that pride themselves in being a band of brothers. They really do. They say it again and again. We've seen it again and again. They stick up for one another. It's one of their great values. But this stupid red card, Larry, I think it's officially known as the Serginho Dest of the red card world. It's become a hallmark of this team. This was, I mean, you play in the NBA where smack talk was invented. This to me was very naive in this moment. This reckless move where he was goaded into responding, almost a basic trap set. He jumped into this trap with no composure.
No, that's sportsmanship 101. It's gamesmanship 101. You rile your opponent up, and then it's, we all know the first person never gets caught. The second person does. If you have siblings, you know that growing up. Come on. Apparently Tim's an only child. He never learned that. But no, that is incredibly selfish, and especially for this, this band of brothers, they love to say, and this close team. You let them down, and that's one of those where, like, hey, look, at bare minimum, if you're going to do it, what we like to say is, if you're going to do it, get your money's worth. And he didn't even get his money's worth.
So you annoyed at him for two reasons. I mean, on one hand, this band of brothers thing, it does have, it's a wonderful thing to witness, but other teams know that the other side of the band of brothers thing is that this US team are so unbelievably easy to rattle as a collective. GFOP at 72, Brentard 27 tweeted, "The game was the most beautiful train wreck at this point. The Euros might be ballet, but Copa is definitely UFC." Bradford Barker wrote an email which actually made me laugh in this moment. "Good evening, Rog. If we're going to give a red card for every punch in the back of the head, why even have a CONCACAF?" Which is a question for philosophers who are way above my pay grade. But the US had gone in this moment from 10 minutes, thinking they were 1-0 up, to being down to 10 men. Adversity challenge is opportunity, people. We know this. And first of all, even with 10 men, the US did not freeze. They did not step back. They actually seemed to surge with adrenaline, working it down the left. Balogun and Robinson tried and failed to link up, but Ballo swooped upon the slop, just smacked it with his left foot. He talked about the confidence building of that first goal in the last game, and he just smashed with his left foot the ball with the power of a man hell-bent on seeking vengeance for one Tim Weah. Larry Nance, do you ever anger dunk?
Oh, when do I not anger dunk? I think I could count on one hand how many times I haven't anger dunked.
I dunk in peace. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, no, it's a rim warfare when I go.
I mean, that was an anger dunk, right?
That was an anger dunk. No, he took out some frustration.
God, he hit. Chairman Mao used to send off his Chinese ping pong players to the Olympics and command them to hit the ball as hard as if it was the head of communism's enemies. And I always think about that when someone hits the ball that hard, that sweetly, that beautiful. I believe Ballo said, my lip reading's a bit off, I believe he shouted, "Take that, Mariano Rivera. Take that, Roberto Duran." He hit that ball with the force of 1,000 suns. And in that moment, I got a bit cocky. I was like, send off another one of our players, you cowards. It all felt so tenacious, so impressive. This young team responding to adversity. But this is Copa América. This is the bastard offspring of CONMEBOL and Copa. And what I forgot was the game is just 87 minutes of complete shithousery with 3 minutes of football sprinkled in. And Panama were level within 4 minutes. US backline suddenly was porous. Panama slipped angle passes in behind. They rolled forward. Blackman, the player who, cheap shot Turner, had a shot blocked. Just calmly picked up his rebound, rolled the ball home inside the post. You got to wonder, a non-shell shocked and non-smacked up Matt Turner could have done what with that shot? ... But inside 26 minutes, Larry, we'd had a Vardoff goal, a red card, a Ballo banger for the ages, and this Panamanian leveler. I mean, this Copa is just. It is UFC, it is prison rules, it is violencia, but you can't take your eyes off it, can you?
No, I mean, I forget the username of the guy that said it, but it is just the most beautiful train wreck, because you watch the Euros and it's they're playing with they're swapping jerseys after the game, and everybody's friends. We all play on the same team, and then the game switched from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and it is just helter skelter. It's the absolute greatest, and that's what the first half of this game was. Carnage.
I remember when I got to America, Larry. Your thinking reminds me. There was during the Euros in like 1998. It would have been. 1996, I went to a bar in Arlington, Virginia. I think it was called Summers. Yes, the Great Summers. And Spain and Italy played a game early morning. I went to it, and it was full of little men smoking tiny cigarettes and drinking even smaller coffees. It was a very chill atmosphere. It was all Spanish and Italians. And then England were playing Scotland right afterwards. And just suddenly the whole culture of the bar cleared out and was replaced by absolutely over-inebriated human beings, some in kilts, some, wearing cut-off denims and socks and sandals. It was just an ugly Star Wars cantina. Everyone just wanted a fight, and the mood changed completely between just chilled-out bliss, we're here for sweet football, to, the football's irrelevant, I want to taste my own blood in my mouth. That is the switch you've just described from Euros to Copa. I mean, it's like a switch is flicked, like violence now, please. Boom.
Belligerence on. Yeah.
Yeah, belligerence. Yes, turn it up to 11. The only thing that the Euros has in common with the Copa is that Alexi Lalas, 27 hours a day. That man is just covering it all. But the crowd, totally taken out of it. Honestly. On one hand, I was like, this is what we wanted for our US boys. No easy wins. We wanted adversity. How would they fare when they're challenged? They've been smacked in the mouth. They're bleeding. How would they respond when they're tested in a meaningful game that mattered? And they were tested. I mean, the shoulder charges, the shirt pulls. This was Fist of Fury. This was House of Flying Daggers. They were in a battle for survival, and they were suffering. They really were suffering. Second half felt like the best Panama since Van Halen. This nation, population 4.3 million, or roughly the same as the state of Oregon. Our boys were shattered by them. We had 3 subs at halftime: Horvath, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Johnny Cardoso. It's like a line change in hockey. Cameron Carter-Vickers made his presence felt, just diving in recklessly, constantly. Penalty given, penalty overturned. Dr. Joe did not sign up for this shit, believe me. US were wheezing, they were holding on, breaking out fleetingly through Pulisic and Balogun. By the way, one of the true positives of tonight, and I love this confident Balogun. He is the prince who was promised. But it felt like we were bending. Were we going to break? This was a tough watch. Larry, this is it. These are our boys. We know they're good. We watch them week in, week out with their clubs. We watch them run their socks off tonight to keep up with 43 in the world, Panama. It was tough to watch that second half. The delta between what we hope, what we dream of, and what we were witnessing. It was really, it was excruciating big picture.
No, it's taken a lot of, all of my life, and a lot of most people's lives, to where we can look at our 11 that are on the pitch and go, AC Milan, Juventus, Fulham. We can look at and point out, we can point some really top tier clubs and top tier individual talent, and it's taken a really long time for us to get there. And now that we've gotten there, we're lacking the chemistry to take advantage of it.
The chemistry, the tactic. There's really something tough. Missing. There's something very much. What you've just said is beautiful, Larry. It is poetry. It is generational poetry. We've dreamt of this. We know it's there. But then it came to pass. Holy, holy, holy crap! A moment that is going to sting for a long time. I'm not gonna lie. Massive moment for this Greg Berhalter US men's national team. It felt like fight or flight. There was fight, but then the Panama goal. Just a darkness. It was like watching men drown in that second as that ball just went through Horvath's hands from close range. There was very little that he could do with it. But it was like it was like the air was just punctured out of my lungs as I watched at home. How would the boys respond? The horrific tackle, Karaskila Brexiting Pulisic, essentially. Red card, Pooley body checking him back. But man, the set pieces, best chance for us to win here were terrible. The heads were gone. The game was gone. I want to say, we got to say this. You said this before we got on. This is the first thing you said. You said we lost the game, but Panama also won the game. We've got to give huge credit to Panama tonight. I mean this. It hurt. It hurt. This was, I think, their third win all time in 27 games. But Larry, this was their game plan, right? And we fell for it. They goaded us into a trap, and we jumped in 2-footed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they came in with the scouting report is out on us. Hey, if you rough us up, you can get under our skin and we'll fall apart. You play teams like that all the time, and we fell head and shoulders into the trap, and they just, like I said, they look. We lost the game. Don't get it twisted. We absolutely lost. But like you said, credit goes to Panama because they very easily could have laid down or very easily could have been fine with a draw, but they pushed forward and they beat us. They went out and beat us.
They beat us, Larry. They beat us tonight. They did. This is their game plan. This is their game plan, and credit to them.
Yes.
By the way, lesser team, lesser talent. I think they've got one player in the top 5. I may be wrong on this. One player in the top 5 leagues in America, as you said so beautifully. All of us, all our boys. And so they decided, toe-to-toe, they're going to lose. How could they make things tilt to their balance, throw us mentally off our game, make us lose our focus, make us lose our heads, lose our minds, and lose the game? We got played tonight. The United States got played tonight. We got sucked into a whole world of pain. We got invited into a whole world of pain, and we jumped in. We jumped in and ended up in a world of hurt. We can talk about what now for the United States. I want to get to your guys' calls because I want to hear how you're feeling. Uruguay played Bolivia tonight. We will most probably have to beat Uruguay in Arrowhead Stadium on Monday night, or else we will be that word that Hercules Gomez taught me in the previews for the Copa. We will be grouped, which is the most callous. Oh, it's a horrible word. Grouped. It's just so. I'm just not I don't like the word kudos. I'm never comfortable with that word. That makes me a bit squirmy. The word being grouped is just so deeply violating. I was going to talk about England. We'll save England, Larry, but this is devastating. This tonight, I felt as low, or maybe it was an echo of Trinidad and Tobago 2018 loss again. Just this team losing. Just inexplicably, really.
It doesn't feel good. I wouldn't say it's not quite Trinidad and Tobago because we still do have we have an opportunity. I mean,
that'll be Greg's team talk. Lads, it's not quite Trinidad and Tobago. Cheer up.
We've been worse. Look, at least we have an opportunity, however small or tall the order is. But I will say a little bit, just to cross all the dots here. Do you recall who the manager of Uruguay is?
Let me get this for you, Larry. Marcelo Bielsa, baby.
The great.
Look at that, sitting there on his bucket.
The great Marcelo Bielsa. He's one of a kind.
He is. He's like Greg Berhalter with hair and a bucket. Is that what you're telling me?
Sure. Sure.
I don't like where you're taking us, Larry. You're meant to be giving us hope.
Did you say Greg Berhalter? Did you say Greg Berhalter? I think you meant Gareth Berhalter or Greg Southgate. You could. Sorry. We're leaving England alone. I apologize.
Crystal Palace legends. I won't have that on this show. But we were told the order that we played these games in was kind to us, that we would wrap the group up tonight in the first 2 games. Before the Fox guys were like, this could be the first time that the US win 2 consecutive games in the Copa America ever. Why would you say that? I mean, we were meant to have won these and then face a battle-sharpened Marcelo Bielsa's Uruguay. I mean, this US team, this is, I'm going to take your questions, but I want to say this. This US team, we need a marquee win. We need a win against a big team. We need to go on the field toe-to-toe. I thought it was going to be Colombia or Brazil, right? We were all focused on the quarterfinal. We'd said we were there already. We didn't even think this scenario through. This was our golden generation. Irrespective, the big game is coming Monday night now. It's coming earlier than we thought. This team, they need a moment that shows their growth. They need it for their own benefit. But tonight I think about how we football fans, all of us watching this in the big American football bubble, we need this. We need this team to grab the attention of the wider American public. The World Cup is less than 2 years away. We need this now. We need it. Our nation is 340 million people. And it's time to show that our dreams on the men's side can be glimpsed. That we can leave this kids' table where we've sat since 1990. Larry, why not us? Why did Georgia do it? Why does Slovakia do it? Why does Slovenia do it? Why do all the Slovs do it? Why them? Why never us?
I'll tell you what, if I knew I need to be hired, I need to be coaching us. But it's a shame. Those teams are well drilled, well disciplined, and we showed tonight that discipline is the last thing that we are. You know, you don't beat these teams that are, you lose games that you should lose when you're undisciplined, and that's exactly what we were tonight, and that's exactly what we've shown. But you're right. We need a win that announces us as we're here and we're a real threat, and we've continued to show that. Are we a real threat?
God, I love what you've just said, actually. I mean, it is. We've confused like spirit, brotherhood with focus, organization, tactical discipline. This is not irrevocable. You're also hinting this is not irrevocable.
No.
Roll on Monday. Could be worse. We could be Mexico. US fans, how we laughed last night. We laugh slightly less tonight. I was going to touch on the Euros. I was going to talk about England. I wanted to pay great tribute to Ukraine. And to Austria, but there's so many questions pouring in. I do want to get them in. I want to hear you, America. I want to hear your feelings, your questions. So let's just dive there. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. Let's bring you up. You won't appear on screen if you're here. If you don't want to come on and ask a question, just pop a comment in the chat. We'll talk about the best ones. Let's start with Imani. Imani, tell us where you are, beautiful, and what's your question?
Hey guys, what's up? I'm in Austin, Texas here, and basically, I don't know. I want to talk about how I think that this is on Berhalter for me. It's not on the red card simply because it's Panama, and I wanted to know if you thought it was the right move for Greg to make a triple substitution, take off a lot of attacking players, so that when Panama did get a red card and we had a chance, we no longer had the ability to spring a strong counterattack, and chances are falling to maybe our third choice or our fourth choice guy to take that chance. And do you think it's a little bit crazy that Greg Berhalter put all of his marbles in winning against Uruguay with 11 men versus trying to take on Panama with 10 and having played in CONCACAF so often? Like, was that a smart move, really? Like, to say, I'm going to beat Paraguay and Uruguay and Darwin Nunez and all those people versus, hey, 10 men versus Panama, we've done it before. What do you guys think?
Imani, thanks for your question. Larry, I guess the question is, when you have this moment that defines a game, the Tim Weah moment, which is, Tim will rue this. I mean, please God, will grow and remember this, that there'll be now 1,000 articles for the next 10 years about Tim Weah, where he talked about the turning point in his career was this moment. Like, how much is that the coach's fault tonight? I mean, there were tactical decisions that were made. I mean, you need to bunker down when you're with 10 men. It's exhausting. I was in Atlanta. I lost 20 pounds the last 20. I was there yesterday. I sweated I mean, I sweated off so much. It's unbelievable. It's hot there. These guys are tired. As a coach, you do need to lock down the back. But when you see something like that, when you see like a Draymond Green moment, how much of it is the player and how much ultimately do you look at the 90 minutes from a coaching perspective?
To me, I look at them very separately. Because first things first, Tim was wrong. Right now, okay, from that moment, how do we go? And if you, at halftime, we made a triple sub. And with 10 men, that pitch is massive. Being down a man, I understand taking off some of your better attacking talent to hunker down defensively just because, all right, you know what? A draw isn't the end of the world. You know, a draw with 10 men is kind of, we'll take it. You know, we'll take it. 10 men is really hard to play with. But again, that's really, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, Larry, that
really
ultimately, that to me is like the crime of the night is to not know how to shut the game down against Panama. We were not playing. I don't know if you noticed, we were not playing Argentina tonight. We were not playing Spain. We were not even playing Austria. This was not an irresistible force that could not be stopped. I mean, this team had been in camp for what is it, like 12 days. To not know in that moment, this is Panama, to not know how to shut the game down, to get out and survive, and then take your chances against Uruguay to do what you need to do from a goal difference perspective to survive and advance. That to me, to answer you quickly, Imani, that's the thing that will haunt me. How do we not know with these footballers? Watching Cameron Carter-Vickers just headlessly several times, twice, I think, just fling himself into tackles. These are moments that of disorganisation and of miscalibration, of lack of focus, and those are the things that are the question marks that are going to tear at me. There's so many questions. I want to get to so many of them. Let's bring up Nick, because I think you're from Cleveland, and that Clevelandness gets you to the front of the queue to speak to the great Ohioan, Mr. Larry Nance Jr. Nick, come on up. Tell us where you are and what's your question on this dark night. Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Larry, such a big fan, especially when you're on the Cavs. Hopefully we can have such a great season with Kenny Atkinson. But first of all, I gotta say, just gotta fire Berhalter. It's just been embarrassing these past few results. How we couldn't shut away Bolivia and how we couldn't just put away this Panama team with 10 men. We should be so much better than that. I mean, our marquee wins are 2 draws against an England side in the World Cup who has Southgate, who have their problems, and a Brazil side whose all forwards are so darn lazy. Like Vinny and all of them don't track back. And it's just really, really embarrassing. So I guess my question is how much pressure is on GGG to get a result versus Uruguay to get out of the group? And also another question is, do we have a problem with our temper and how easily we just lose control? And who does that fall on?
God, that's such a good question, Larry Nance. I was going to ask you this. I mean, you played for a number of NBA teams. You played for many NBA coaches. The story with Greg when he came back for the second coming was that it was the players who wanted him back. I mean, this is a complicated reality that we're in because Greg had, there's a huge portion of the fans. You just have to look under any social media during a game, after a game, where a large portion of the American fans are. In the Premier League, when the cliche, they've lost the fans, that's a problematic reality for the manager. But the thing that, the story, the narrative about Greg's second coming was the players demanded it, the players wanted it. And the temper problem, I mean, I don't know if they do or they don't do. There's a pattern. I don't know what we read into it. But you've had a number of coaches. There's coaches who are distant. There's coaches who are bastards. There's coaches who are head players. But there's also coaches who are like players coaches, warm coaches, glue guys. And I'm always fascinated. So if Greg is, the player's choice, when does being the player's choice just veer into a culture of complacency? It's not always a great thing that the players really love this coach. That can be a good thing. I mean, the players ultimately loved Bielsa at Leeds, but he was a hard bastard to them. That wasn't why they loved him. But when the players really love a coach, sometimes it's just because the coach is kind of a chill guy that lets them do their thing. And tonight, I think we did see them in bad moments do their thing. When does a player's coach, Larry, like veer into complacency within that squad culture?
With a player's coach, if you don't have a gruff locker room leader, like your captain on the field that's going to grab Tim before he does it and shake him, and we don't have that. So someone has to have someone has to have authority around there. And a player's coach, again, if you have to use basketball terms, if you have Udonis Haslem, you can have a player's coach. If you have a leader, just a real leader, you can have a player's coach, but somebody has to be able to shake the team, and you got to grow up. So we clearly, in my opinion, we don't have Christian as a captain, amazing player. We have amazing players, but they're almost too good of guys. You need someone with a little bit of FU mentality, and if our players don't have that, our coach has to. And your atmosphere can be as good as you want, but at the end of the day, you're not judged on how much you like each other.
Yeah, I mean the temper problem ultimately is a flip side about leadership and authority within that locker room culture, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I mean, Tyler is that guy. Tyler is a tempo setter. Tyler is a guy that demands that stuff. Tim Ream is a gentleman that they all revere and respect, but he's also quite quiet on the field there. I mean, that question of where that leadership is, I mean, it's also been an odd feature of this US team that I can't quite get a calibration on, is that there's never been a defined captain, just like there's never been a defined striker. There's ultimately uncertainty in key parts of that squad, just a lack of structure. The leadership is probably not where it needs to be. But the question of authority is one. We're not in that locker room. It's hard to judge. But your question is framing something that I think we'll hear a lot more about, I hope, in the next 48 hours, and ultimately see a response from Tony. Oh, come on up, you beautiful human being. Tell us where you are and what's your question.
Hey, this is Tony from Rochester, New York, although originally from
the Festival
Vermont.
of Lilacs.
Yes, it's very nice. Although originally from Vermont, also very nice. Longtime listener, after listening to John Green suggest your podcast, really wanted to ask, obviously there's problems with the squad and how they react, but also just watching Turner get leveled and nothing. Is this a reffing in differential, or is it that the rules are bad? Like that the goalie can be leveled, nothing, but shoved to the back of the head is a red card.
Yeah, I mean, just to be completely clear, it's a good question. A shove to the head is a red card, is a red card, is a red card. Like, there's no linkage between, they let that go, why don't they let that go? The shove to the back of the head is straight up red card. It is almost impossible to understand why there was no yellow card on the with VAR, in the era of VAR, on Matt Turner. I think ultimately that threw the US as much. They couldn't believe it. These boys, the injustice. Like one of my kids has always he's just gone off when something unjust happens. He just goes off. He can't stand it. We get into fist fights in school. I'll be like, why did he do that? It was just wrong, Dad. It was just wrong. And you saw that in these players. They were horrified by it. They couldn't believe it. I mean, part of being in the top 5 leagues in the world is you're reputedly in the best refereeing, even though you're not in England, obviously. But this was prison rules. This was CONMEBOL meets CONCACAF. The refereeing has been terrible. Poor Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe wants to do 90 minutes where he can drink his Cutty Sark and occasionally get woken up and talk about why some throw-in wasn't given. Man, that guy worked overtime tonight. I hope he's charging Fox overtime. The whole Copa has been scarred by some of the most inconsistent refereeing. And the only thing that was fascinating was the US boys were not prepared for it and were mentally thrown by it. And so the cycle of darkness begun. So I mean, anyone who's watched the Copa, never mind watch game film of their opponent, anyone who's casually watched the Copa knows the refereeing has been utterly atrocious. And probably one of the shocking post-mortems is that our boys were totally broken by it. I want to get to a couple more calls, and I want to get you out for the debate, America. So many of you are calling. It is amazing. We could be on this thing for hours. Peter, from Seattle, that great soccer kingdom where you fight and win. Come on up, beautiful. Tell us what your question is. Keep it tight so we can get as many of these other callers on tonight and get Larry out to watch old debate out.
Hey, Raj. Hey, Larry. Version of my question was asked about shithousery in the dark arts and our inability to rise above it. Since it was asked, I'd like to redirect it to Larry. As a professional athlete, how do you think a team can rise above the shithousery and not lose our heads so easily? Is it therapy? Is it transcendental meditation? Or is it just great medication?
That's a really good question because, obviously, in the end, I can only speak to the NBA. In the NBA, you've got your Draymonds, you've got your Dylan Brooks, your Pat Bevs, your guys that have mastered the shit house. And honestly,
they'd be great in CONCACAF.
They would. Oh my God, we should take one of them. Canada should have brought Dylan Brooks with them, actually.
Jesse Marsh, get on it, baby. It's not too late.
But no, to get to this level, both in soccer and basketball, to get to being a professional athlete, you have had your foot trotted on at lower levels because everybody knows you're better. To get to the NBA, you've been knocked down, you've been pinched, scratched, hit, elbowed, you've been stepped on, you've been thrown down, you've done everything has happened to you. You can't react. There has to be a level of mental toughness. And to me, it's not a problem that's unique to us. It happens in every sport. You see every team has that guy. England has Neil Maupay, right? Like they've got so many guys that rile people up in their leagues that you have to know how to react to it. It's a real part of the game. And it's to me, it's a little disheartening that we haven't learned how to handle that yet because it's a level of mental toughness rather than, I don't think it's not therapy or it's not this or that. It's, you got to be able to keep your head. This is a sport. We are in it to win it. And this is their strategy against you. As athletes, you can't allow yourself to fall victim to that. And, unfortunately tonight Tim fell victim to it, but it's something that everybody does at some point, but you learn. And so all you can ask for these guys is to learn going forward and use this as a lesson rather than just another one of those times they got to our heads. But no, it's not it's mental toughness and mental fortitude. And that's a little bit where a leader, your coach, your captain has to come in and say, smack his own players in the back of the head and say, hey, focus.
That guy. You need a Tarkovsky or focus. In the old days, Jamie Carragher. Where is the American player tonight just walking around going like, lads, focus? Where? We didn't see that once.
Right. They're doing it because they know you're better.
By the way, I love what you've said about how players who are elite have had this for decades, for the first decade of their career. Dele Alli, God bless. When Dele Alli was at his peak at Tottenham, he came on our show and he talked about what it was like to be 17, 18 playing in League Two, where he still was doing his nutmegs and his flicks, but every 29-year-old journeyman was trying to smash his shins open. And ultimately, you do get that education over there. And some of these players, they've ground in Europe. They know their stuff now. They get it in training. It's culture shock. If you want to hear the culture shock, listen to our Luca De La Torre podcast, where he talked about the eye-opening experience it was for him to arrive at Fulham in the youth academy. And he found it just a horror show. It was a trauma that he overcame, but it was eye-opening. And I wish tonight someone would ask a question about this result on the presidential debate, Larry. And one of the candidates will say, I vow that I will open up a National Institute for Shithousery in America so that we can become elite. They A national incident. Can you imagine that in Washington? You guys who are watching this, because I know a lot of you are in politics in Washington, the National Institute for FS, the NIFS. Where do you work? When you're on K Street and people are like, where do you work? I work at NIFS, the National Institute for Shithousery. If you work in that place and teach our youth to do the shithousery as they do in other nations, we've always been asking, Larry, where's our Messi? Where's our Ronaldo? We should be asking, where's our Materazzi, right? Where's our Neil Maupay? That's the player we need to develop.
Yes. We need the Jose Alvarado on the Pelicans. You gotta have him.
We've been doing this wrong. We've been aspiring to greatness. We should have been aspiring to darkness. Then we just solved it, Larry. There'll be no stopping us, baby. Eric, come on up. Tell us where you are. What's your question? Rico, we're going to come back to you, baby. Let's go to Andrew M. Tell us where you are in this great nation of ours, a nation in mourning tonight from a sporting perspective. And what's your question?
Hey, Raj, it's Andrew Millington from Denver, Colorado.
Hey, hello, Andrew Millington, you gorgeous human being. Oh, it's great to hear your voice on a dark night. It really is like penicillin. What's your question for the mighty Larry Nance?
All right, Larry, if we Freaky Friday'd Gareth Southgate and Greg Berhalter, would both be more successful, because Southgate is allergic to joy and would bring a much needed, I don't know, Jesuit headmaster vibe to the USMNT. And then Greg would get his, truck full of toys that he's always wanted and tried to play a squad like. What if he actually had access to, a Ferrari?
Wow.
So here's what I will say. That's an awesome question. I bet you Southgate gets a result tonight.
Bite your arm off. Is that what you're telling me, Larry? Bite your arm off for Southgate.
He's going to lock down the team. He'll lock down that game and it'll be nasty and uneventful, but they're not scoring. And I gotta say, if we Freaky Friday them, I think we come out the better.
We would have won 1-0 tonight. We'd be really disappointed. You'd all be
1-0
bored.
disappointed,
You'd be quite deflated. You'd be like, I can't stand this. It's very disappointing. We only beat Uruguay on Monday 1-0. We're very disappointed on us. I've got to tell you, the thing I love most, and by the way, thank you for this question, Andrew Millington, because I laughed tonight and I didn't think I was going to ever laugh again, to be candid, is the notion of Greg Berhalter, the England national team manager, trying to talk to Phil Foden. There's a line in Slow Horses, which is one of my favourite television shows of all time, the book's by Mick Herron, and he talked about someone, I'm trying to remember who it was, but he said about how hard it was to communicate with them. He said it was like trying to explain Denmark to a dog. And Greg Berhalter trying to speak to Phil Foden would be like that would just be an incredible conversation. Even just for that, I'd just love to see this happen. By the way, I did have a nightmare the other night that Gareth Southgate was the next American manager. So be careful what you wish for, America. It could become true. But we've got to move on. Bethany from North Carolina. Where about in North Carolina, Bethany? Come on up. What's your question for the great Larry Nance?
Hey, Raj. Hey, Larry. I'm currently in Conover, North Carolina, which is outside of Hickory, but originally from Columbus, Ohio. So we're also bringing the Midwest love here.
Oh, Schmidt's House of Sausage. I love that place.
Yes. My question centers around, and we've been nibbling around this, I think, all of this call-in show, but it just seems we are completely inept over the last, probably since Greg was hired. Completely inept in stringing together two positive performances. And not to beat the dead horse, but I think the conversations we've been having about the mentality, about the discipline, about who's the a-hole in the locker room holding everybody in line. It's just, we've heard so much talk about this team and yet have yet to really see it ever come together with consistency. So, Larry, my question to you then is, if you were in that locker room, what is like the first three things that you would do to try and get more consistent performances out of these guys?
Bethany, that's an incredible question. Thank you for joining us tonight.
That's
Larry,
a great question.
pressure's on you. By the way, do treat this as an interview for the manager's job,
As an
Larry.
interview? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me
pull up my
Also,
PowerPoint.
Raj, we're hoping to see you in a much happier state, in a much more joyful mood, July 9th. Got tickets to the live show, and then hopefully
what
tickets
city
to a
am I in for
semifinal
July
match
9th,
with these
Bethany?
guys.
What city am I in July 9th? Just remind me.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Am I really? That's unbelievable.
Am I really?
I'm trying to remember. I think I have one July 8th somewhere as well. I'm now in a cold sweat panic, but this is not about me. Bethany, make sure that we raise a point together because I love this question. I'm trying to buy time because I'm Larry's agent on the manager. Larry plays football manager like a madman. This is genuinely something. He's going to unveil his PowerPoint to be the next US men's national team manager. Larry Nance Jr., take it away.
The first thing I would do is the very first thing I would do is you need to go back. You need to make sure this moment is felt. You need to make sure this moment tonight is felt. I would, the next time you go, you have practice or whatever it is, I'm replaying every single time they hit us and our reactions. I'm showing it over and over and over and over, just showing these guys, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is the league that we play in. These are the players that we're playing against. You are fundamentally the better team. You have not the better team, sorry. You are the better athletes. You are better soccer players. This is their strategy to stop you. You need to show it and show it and show it. You need to make sure Tim learns from this moment. You need to make sure he needs to feel something from that film session. Every single person, Cameron Carter-Vickers needs to feel that stop. You have to, I don't want to know if it's embarrassment, but it's repetitive. It's repetitive, just like, so, drip feeding them information of how you're going to be played. Is the first thing. It's just a massive film session and showing them their reactions and how you cannot do this, and comparing it with how an Argentina or how a Brazil or how a Colombia or how they deal with it, because they don't get it wrong. They are getting hit the same way, but the composure they have is different. Is the first thing. The second thing, in terms of our attack, I'm emphasizing over and over again is like, look, if you look at Argentina, Messi stands out, obviously. If you look at Brazil, Vinicius stands out. But the reason they're standing out is not because they're, yes, they have moments of individual brilliance, but their team, it's because Argentina, if Argentina doesn't, if they're not on the world stage, Messi's not on the world stage. If Brazil's not on the world stage, Vinicius isn't on the world stage. Yes, Christian, you're amazing. Tim's amazing, great. Balogun's amazing. We have individual talent, but if we don't win collectively, if we don't play for each other, no one's ever going to see how good you are. No one cares, because if you can't put it together, your individual talent can't show. Are we individually talented? Absolutely. So were the Phoenix Suns this season. You know what I mean? Like, and they crashed out so did we. But
too soon.
Individual talent doesn't get you to the next stage. You have to, it's about not about how good you are. It's about how well you mesh with each other. Is the biggest thing, and then I'm scheduling more. I need to play more friendlies against teams that are going to do this. I have to get you experience.
That is our predicament as World Cup host. I think it's 714 days from today. We can't play great teams. We're playing friendlies. We're playing CONCACAF. I mean, this was a CONCACAF team, but this was a meaningful game, and this is the crucible in which we are forged. The idea of football, we are forged. I mean, there's 100 questions we could do. Here's what I'm going to say, because I promised Larry I'd get him out for the old debate tonight, and I do want Americans to see what they need to see so we can all be alive and awake and and make the decisions that we all individually want to make. So I'm going to say all of you who are here, Brian from Jersey City, Molly from Denver, Nathan from Austin, David, I mean, there's just a huge list. I'm so grateful to all of you. I feel you. Like, we could stay on here for hours talking to you. Brian is going to ask a question about Alex Morgan. I'm going to talk about Alex Morgan in tomorrow's show at WGFOP. It needs talking about. Here's the number, 646-450-9472. Whatever you're feeling, call in that question now, 646-450-9472, and we'll do a show tomorrow where I try and answer as many of your questions as possible. This is a real moment. I mean, Larry, what you just did was really beautiful, which is an incredible way to end it. I do love your number one, like, that. Make sure this is felt. This needs to be felt. I think often we kind of move quickly to the next result. You know, it's a disaster, and then the next thing, oh, we're wonderful again. We need to feel this. We need to ask hard questions. We need to understand. These guys are great guys. They're grinding. They're wonderful. They're striving. Like, we don't have to destroy everything in an English style, which is one of the most fascinating things to watch. This team, who are top of their group, just get utterly violated by their own media, and just beer glasses thrown at their own manager. But let's ask ourselves hard questions. Let's learn our lessons. I found tonight, I mean, this is a dark night. I love the community. I've loved the questions. The questions ultimately are what are important. You'll all come out with your own answers. I want to thank Larry in 1 second. I do want to say about what else is coming up at Men in Blazers World Headquarters. There's a lot. We're back tomorrow with a new episode of WGFOP. Please call in your questions, presented by Prize Picks. We're going to go through the old wreckage of tonight's game. Get your questions in, 646-450-9472. Give us a bell. Producer Max will sort through them. We'll get the best ones up. We're back Saturday for another Do It Live after the Euros knockout games, at return to our loving arms with the greatest, Mr. Rory Smith, who can talk about England's pain like a poet. In Kansas City, Sunday, early, we're going to fly to you with my friend Brendan Hunt, Modern Family star, proper football's Eric Stone Street. Also Matt Beasler, local legend. I think there's genuinely like 4 tickets left. Come be with us. We'll have a drink with you after the show. And then Charlotte, I've just been reminded by a guest on this show that we're coming there July 9th. I think we're doing something in New York July 8th. I'm pretty sure that's happening. But time has melted for me in this Euros. Time has utterly melted. I am completely alone and lost and loving all of it. I just want to say it could be worse for us in the United States. We could be Ukraine, who exited yesterday from the Euros in excruciating fashion. They were the first team to be eliminated in a 24-team tournament with 4 points in the group stage. Everyone got 4 points in their group. They came so close to taking a win against Belgium. Maliowski whipping in that incredible poem of a corner, which was like centimetres away from crossing the line, which would have changed everything. Agony from a footballing perspective, but I hope, I'm not Ukrainian, but I hope, after watching their players every day, every press conference felt like an ambassador, a diplomatic, a geopolitical situation. The players, I'm sure, every day were thinking about their families, on their loved ones on the home front, every press conference. The playing of every national anthem was just a tear on the heartstrings. As I say, Ukraine may have lost at the group stage. They won in the eyes of the world. I think they reminded all of us that the pain and the agony of war that they're embroiled in. Ultimately, that is life. Football is not life. This US team will rise again. I have no doubt of that. So to you in Ukraine, Godspeed, all of you, with our gratitude, our love, our prayers. And Larry, God bless to you. I've got to tell you, I'm in a low mood. It's a dark time. This is not what we wanted. But to share it with you, it's a night. You are now forever embedded in my memories of this night. And I'm so bloody grateful.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
It's a great thing, man. You are the single greatest. We're going to go to Leeds together this season. That's all I will tell you.
You let me know, and I'll be over there with you.
Godspeed. And we're going to be in New Orleans too, because I love that city and I love
Fantastic.
I love your club. To you, with gratitude, huge love. Thank you for being with us. To all of you GFOPs, look, I pulled out my Leeds mug for Larry tonight. To better days ahead. It wasn't what we wanted. It's not the end of the world. It really isn't. It's football. It's not life, and we will rise again. And please God, all learn lessons. We will be with you tomorrow. We'll be with you Saturday. We will rise again. Go USA. Big love to all of you. Courage.